What's going on, everybody? My name is Aaron, and welcome to our first wrap-up video from the virtual Hotpit Autofest. Now, if you didn't catch any of the last couple of videos that I put out, I'm going to be competing in the Hotpit Autofest this season, the virtual equivalent, in Assetto Corsa. So now, I haven't competed in any sort of drifting competition virtually in years, and I've never competed in Assetto Corsa. So this is going to be a huge uphill battle, and I'm really stoked to take you guys along for the ride. Now, let's not waste too much time, and we'll get into the track we were on this weekend and the car that I was driving this weekend as well. So, welcome to the Orange Show Speedway here in San Bernardino, California. This is where the first real round of the Hotpit Autofest was. If you want to follow Hotpit Autofest, you can follow them on Instagram as well to get more information about both the virtual series and the real life series. This track was made by Almanai's Gaming. You can see all of his information right there if you want to go follow him, blah, 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 all the good stuff. So this track is a oval. I know, I hear you barking, big dog. I hate oval drifting, wah, 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 but hear me out. This round in this track was actually a lot of fun. It looks super simple, and it's not. We're about to get into it. The real life equivalent of this track is actually a little bit narrower and maybe a little bit smaller, so we had a little bit different parameters to work with here. This felt like a baby Irwindale almost with the way it was laid out. It was actually really, really difficult. So let's get into the track here really quick. So the wonderful people at ESDA were actually putting on the event. Still a Hotpit Autofest event, but basically the staff, the judges, whatever, we're all from ESDA. This is why you see this box here at the beginning. So this is your restart line. So if for any reason you don't get a jump off the line, you want to restart, you can stop right here or before here. This line is to make sure that the leading car, which will be on the right, doesn't cross over into the path of the follow car. Follow car can do whatever it wants as long as it doesn't take out the lead car, obviously. This is your first slowdown zone or your initiation zone. You can handbrake, faint drift, wherever you want here. And this is their first bank. This is their first outer zone. And as you can see, the bank is actually not too steep. It actually levels off a little bit here towards the top. So in normal bank drifting where you can just rely on the banking to kind of keep you on the wall, this doesn't do that. So it's very tricky. It's very easy to kind of shoot wide and catch this wall. Sometimes it'll like just hook you and you can kind of just power through it and keep going. Sometimes it'll throw you right into the wall. So this wall is actually, I like it because it's nice and wide and flat, but also it can kill you. It's not like Orlando or something with a very, very steep bank. It posed some of its own challenges and posed some of its own benefits as well. The line is to stay out wide here. You can kind of cut it. They said you can cut it if you want, but they would prefer if you stayed out wide. Very hard to do while maintaining speed. This whole track is basically flat out. You do your initiation over there. The checkup here, it basically lift a little bit so you don't overshoot, but that's basically it. There's not a whole lot of genuine braking. You have left foot braking at this course, but not a whole lot of braking and like decel. So it is a very, very fast track. So this is kind of they say it's outer clip 1. I might call it outer zone 2. This is outer clip 2. I might refer to this as outer clip 3 or outer zone 3. Just bear with me. I'm a little stupid. So this is the most difficult part of the course. And I know it looks pretty easy, but it's not. So you're coming off of this zone. Let me zoom out a little bit more. You're coming off of this zone, and then you're getting to that zone. This little area right here is the hardest part of the track. And why? Minimal decel allowed. Can't just like check up on the brakes and power through here. You have to carry as much speed as you want, and judges in the drivers meeting specifically said they don't want to see excessive decels or excessive left foot braking. So it was really, really tricky to be able to get from here to about here without dropping too much speed. That would be viewed as a deduction, or dropping a tire over this line here. And then this last outer zone here, this outer zone 2/4, you'll see that the line is actually coming up on the bank a little bit. A lot of times in practice, I would go, why is my car spinning out? Because I feel like I'd get this part right, and then I'd have one tire up on the line, which normally isn't a bad thing. You don't want to go over the line, but you can get on it, and then I would spin. And I go, well, why did my car spin? I don't understand. Because there's a little banking here. If you get that one tire on the banking, it really upsets the whole car. So big risk reward value with this last outer zone. And again, right here, you want to be painting the line right here all the way in. You don't really cut it shallow a little bit. So for me, it was very, very difficult to slow my car down to where I wouldn't overshoot in this general area right here, but also still make it look cool, big angle and minimal brakes. So really, really tricky. But it was a fun challenge in the 180SX I was driving. Again, if you missed the last video, this is our car for the season. It is a Nissan, it's 1989 180SX. This model was put together by my good friend Brandon Patrick over at Triple F Drifting Department. If you've ever seen the virtual Fiorella, the 599 in like VDC or ESDA, that's my good friend Brandon. He helped put this car together. He actually had a wonderful weekend in his 575 Ferrari this weekend. I think he finished in the top 8 somewhere. So he had a great run. Got Android Auto, which I think is really cool. If I want to switch songs like in Spotify, I could do it right here. In the app. I've got some logos and stuff in here, and it still looks very street car, but it's got like little nods. Like it's got like my purple, like this is the shade of purple I use for everything. Got my logo in the wheel. Like he had a lot of little cute details to this car. The livery wasn't quite finished, so hopefully we'll have a livery reveal for you by the next round. I figured, hey, you know, I want to drive. I don't really care if the car looks cool or not. It's just a tool. But the more I drive this car, the more I fall in love with it. It's super, super consistent, super fun to drive, and very reliable. A lot of times when I make mistakes, it's not like, oh God, the car whipped quickly for no reason, and I don't know why. It was me making the mistakes. So really easy to focus on my driving and go, okay, I'm making a mistake here. I got to fix this. The car wasn't fighting me anywhere, so it was really, really nice to drive. I'd love to give you a download link, but these are all private cars and will not be shared. It's using VDC physics with WDT tires, so not something you can probably recreate yourself if you wanted to, but out of respect for the people who have worked on this car and for the people who have worked on the modeling and whatever, I will not be sharing this vehicle at this time. We're going to get into our qualifying runs here. I don't have the stream footage from qualifying because it disappeared and it hasn't come back yet. This is Sunday as I'm recording this, so we'll just get right into the replay. Alrighty then, that was my first qualifying run, my first ever competitive qualifying run in Assetto Corsa. Needless to say, I was a little bit nervous. So at this point, been practicing basically for 2 hours on stream. I felt really, really comfortable. I thought my human limit was probably somewhere in the 90s in terms of score. Right at this point, I think qualifying cutoff score was somewhere in the high 70s, which is actually pretty low for this kind of driving. A lot of times with Assetto, especially on paid entry comps, skill level is so high and everyone's really, really close together. So a lot of times you'll see the 30-second qualifiers got like an 88, so it's out of 100 obviously, so it's super, super competitive. So I was like, you know what, I think I can run probably an 85 chill, not having to try too hard, so I think I'm in the show, no problems. I got up to my qualifying lobby and my car was broken. I still don't quite know what was going on, but there's something that happens in Assetto where you get checksums, so the version that was on the server was not the same as the version that I was using. In tech inspections, there was some things that had to be changed on the car, so I figured I was using a different version, and basically for probably 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I was scrambling, trying to make sure that I wasn't doing anything wrong. I ended up being on the server side, but it really, really killed my all concentration and all rhythm that I had going into qualifying. Not really an excuse, but definitely was difficult to kind of mentally reset after that. So I think I could have done better in qualifying, but we'll get into these runs at first. So this is the first run. You're going to see my first mistake within the first 10 feet. You see that cone? You're not supposed to hit that. And these aren't cones. They're basically solid objects. So it's going to upset the car a little bit. So you see it kind of wiggle a little bit there. In retrospect, it's not that big of a deal. In the car, I was pooping my pants. Like, oh God, oh no. I should have taken the restart, honestly. There's a restart line here, but I figured I could just make it work. But the car is not where I want it to be. I want it to be a little bit more to the right here, I think. But I went for kind of a flick entry. So most people who were getting really high qualifying scores were not using the handbrake at all. And they were just powering and kind of feint initiating into this zone. I wasn't comfortable doing that because I knew I could probably do it 1 out of every 5 times. You only get 2 runs in qualifying. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just stick with what I know, get myself in the show. And if I qualify Saturday morning, I'll practice that initiation style and kind of have more time to work on it. I wasn't really worried about that going into this run. It's kind of unfortunate, but I ended up, you see that little flick there? I didn't really want to do that. I kind of want to just handbrake drag, but because the car was not where I wanted it, that's what it ended up doing. And I don't know if anyone caught this in the replay, but if you watch really closely, I'm gonna go slow motion. So I'm right on the wall. That's kind of what you want to do. The smoke's starting to build here. But if you look at this quarter panel, I'm actually gonna, because there's no soft model or soft physics in Assetto, you're actually allowed to have your colliders a little bit, it looks stupid, but you're allowed to have your colliders a little bit farther in to compensate for, you know, give that the back of your car would have. So if you watch competitive drifting, maybe Formula Drift, you'll see like their quarter panels, the back of the cars will bend in a little bit as they hit the wall, so they have a little bit of give. You can't really replicate that in Assetto, so that's their next best thing. But at this point, I'm in the wall. I'm making contact with the wall, and I'm scared to death. But the only thing you can do in this situation is just keep your foot in the gas and hope it comes off the wall. So I bounce off the wall there. I get into the wall again here. You can actually really see it from this camera angle. I get away with it the first time, and then bonk. I get away with it again here. I'm so lucky it didn't affect my angle, because if it did, I probably wouldn't have had an event this weekend. So I came off that zone there, got really, really lucky, moved into the next part of the track. Went a little bit shallow here, but some people were really cutting this tight, so it wasn't really too much against me. Nice angle. What I really worked on in practice was my fluidity and make sure that my angle was smooth. Even if I wasn't pulling the most angle out of everybody on the track, I wanted to make it as smooth and as fluid as possible. So ended up hitting that really nice. A little bit of a lazy transition there, but at this point I'm like, dude, you just bonked the wall like 4 times. Just get a run in. You know, you can drive a bit harder on the next one if you want, but just make sure you get a passable run. And if you make another big mistake, this is going to be like a 60 or even a 0. So you'll see here, you have a front strip. So this is actually a braking light. So you see this strip here. I brake here, I'm really left foot braking, so they didn't really want that, so that's another like deduction against me. And another thing too is you'll see a tire go right over the line here. I talked about that a little bit earlier. I really struggled with coming off of this outer zone and being able to keep it on the outside and be able to have the car do the speed that I wanted to do here. So I think a late transition and not really staying outside wide was the reason I dropped the tire here. I got damn lucky that they weren't super strict on tire drops this weekend. One tire off there, and then I made the best of it, kept it nice and outside, shallowed up a little bit here, but made sure I just didn't drop another tire. I could feel it in the car for that first run. So the judges gave me an 82, an 82, and an 84, so that averaged out at an 82.6. Not the best first qualifying run, considering our number 1 qualifier was running a 98. Went into the second run hoping that I could do a little bit better. Hey, look who remembered to turn the webcam on for this one. Let me know if you guys don't like this. I'll turn this off forever. If you don't care, then I'm just going to keep doing it, but whatever. So this one broke my heart. This one hurt me in a personal level, and I don't think I'll mentally ever recover. I'm kidding. Again, starting off, you'll see the fool don't get fooled again here. And I like tiptoe out of the start line. I was like, you know what? I am not doing that again. A little bit shallower on the bank here. Let me see if I can scoot back just a bit. So a little bit shallower on the bank here. I don't quite go to the outside right away, but this is kind of like it's fast, but it wasn't a faint transition. So a little bit shallow on the bank here, but considering what just happened in the first run, I was like, you know what? Just run a midline through the bank here. And actually it still looked really good from the replay camera, especially with a little bit of left foot brake here. You throw a bit of extra angle. It looks really nice on this wall. So not as close to the wall, but considering what I just went through, that was justified. Nice job on this outer zone too. I'm trying to get a 90 here. I know I have it in me, and a 90 score would have put me basically in the top 10 in qualifying at this point. There were 56 people trying to get in, so I knew I'd be super safe if I can get something that I knew I could do. Especially after that first run, I really had some confidence here. But this is where my whole life fell apart. At this point, this run is maybe the only flaw I have is the bank a little bit, but to me, this is still like a high 80, low 90 run if I can put it all together. But we talked about it before in that first run. We're going to talk about it again. Ended up keeping the line really nice, but what happened was I didn't cut speed here at all. All you really needed to do was just kind of come off the gas completely, wait like a 1/10 of a second, and then back on the throttle, and normally you'd be good with speed. But what happened here is I got so jazzed that the rest of my run was going so well that I just completely forgot to get off the throttle. And you'll see here, I'm trying to left foot brake. I'm like, oh shit, because this is where I was like, okay, I'm going too fast. And the corner is going to tighten up just a little bit right here because it's an oval, and that's how ovals work. So I'm like, shit. So I'm coming in here like way too hot. And unfortunately, it's like 3 miles an hour over, but it's still over. So I'm like, fuck. So there's a tire off. That's bad. We had a tire off in our other run, and I think this run at this point is better. So in the car, I'm like, oh, it's not a big deal. But the other run, I dipped a tire off and came right back on. This, it's staying off. Look how long it's off for. Watch how long the tire is off the track. So I'm good, I'm not good. Honestly, I think if I would have just committed to not left foot braking, I think I would have been fine here, but I got so scared that I was coming in too fast that I think the left foot braking is what killed me, which is why I do these videos, so I can kind of like learn from my mistakes. I'm gonna come shallow because I'm coming off the bank, and I realize that, so I left foot brake again, and my dumbass drops another tire. So that's 2 1-tire drops. Luckily, that's not a 0. Could have been probably a 90, let's say a high 80 run with that first tire drop. Ended up only being a 74.3. That is poo-poo garbage. So the cutoff score was an 81.3. We qualified 28th with a 82.6. I definitely feel like I could have done a lot better. This is where this weekend was made or won or lost for me, and it all came down to one stupid mistake. So I think what I have to do is get into, I've learned a lot from this qualifying alone, is get into a qualifying session or practice session with somebody else who can help me like verbalize what I'm thinking. So because when I got into a practice session a Saturday morning, we made the top 32, by the way. That was the goal for the whole season, was just to qualify for one event. And we got really, really lucky and snuck in, but I definitely could have qualified in the top 16, top 10. I didn't realize mistakes I was making until I got into that qualifying or practice session with other people the morning of the event. And they were like, hey, you're doing this wrong. Hey, you're doing this wrong. And it was stuff that I knew. I was like, I'm going too wide here. And then you'd be like, you're going too wide because this. Like, yeah, that makes total sense. And it was really easy to kind of fix my driving from there. But if I would have been doing that Monday instead of Saturday, I think I would have had more time to kind of work on it and build on it, because I did practice a lot. The car setup was fine. It was just me making silly mistakes. But we're in the battles. We're making it in the battles. We're going up against somebody who I've never heard of before. His name's Liam Akihiko. I was supposed to go up against Brandon, who built the car, so I'm really happy I didn't end up going against the Brandon, but Liam still qualified with a 93.6 and an 87, so the guy's no slouch. Ran some practice runs with him, very fast car. This is footage from the stream, finally, because I recorded it before they took it down, and this is what happened.
So, Liam in the lead, Keenan in the chase, throwing it in, that S15 with the Keenan catching on up, trying not to leave any space. Both drivers, good proximity, and good mimic in the chase. Maybe a little bit of proximity left on the table, but that's really it. Liam is just his away in the lead, and coming through.
So I got to chase first. This was the only like positive that I felt all weekend. It's just easier to start chasing first, in my opinion. I'm sure every driver has their own preference. But I like chasing first because I can just kind of see where I'm at, and I also can visually see if the lead car makes mistakes. So let's say the lead car drops a tire or something, and I have a really aggressive chase. I know going into my lead that I don't have to push too hard. So this was the only saving grace for me for the whole weekend, but it's beautiful. This is a wonderful looking S14, and I think he did most of the modeling himself. So there it is right there. Suzuya Auto Body. Go follow him on Instagram. Tell him the guy he battled in the 32 sent him, but not my best run. Let's get into it really quick. Coming into the bank here, I don't know what the hell. So I tried to drop back a little bit off the start. And why I did that is because I couldn't really see when he would start. He should start when the light goes, but I wanted to just come in behind him. I didn't want to enter on his side. I want to enter like front bumper to his rear bumper. And I don't know why I hesitated here. Like, I just kind of, like, you see me hesitate there. My run's basically killed at this point. I should have just went and then lifted, like, here. But I lifted here for some reason. So he's going to come out of this chicane with a ton of speed. So you see right here, like I lift here. I should be getting ready to enter. He does his big flick initiation here, which looks really nice. And then I'm in the initiation zone without entering. This looks awful. And if you watch the replay, it looks fucking awful on stream. So this was already like up. I'm already like, you moron. Just for a little note, I'll spare the gory details, but I had a really bad stomach flu for one whole day. Like, I know what caused it. I ate some food I probably shouldn't have, but I was really sick all day Saturday. So I wasn't really like, I wasn't in the best mind state. I have so many excuses. Just ask me. I'll come up with some more. My initiation here sucks. Like, it's not okay. It's not decent. It's terrible. I ended up getting it initiated in time. If you're not initiated by this line, it's a 0, but you'll see like I'm low on the bank. Liam's right high on the bank, looking real steezy. So I'm like, I gotta gain on him here. I know he's fast, but I don't really want to kill myself trying to gain on him. So I go a little bit lower on the bank. I end up closing here because I'm on a shallower line. I made it look not too poopy. I was still in the outer zone, but I wasn't super far back. Going into this outer clip though is where if my run didn't end over here, it ends over here. So he's got all of this outer zone. He's got a big angle. He's got a transition. And in my ineptitude and stress of trying to catch him, I completely forgot. So right here, I ended up gaining on him, but he's like kind of just coming off the throttle a little bit to transition. And I did not anticipate that at all. So I ended up lifting way heavier than I needed to. to give him room to transition, and he actually does not transition right away. So I'm like, ah, shit. So you see me on the brakes here, and because my transition was wonky, basically I just kind of went in with a charged on him a little bit late, and it really threw me off. No mistake he made. There's a reason this dude qualified 5th and I qualified 28th. So I ended up having a kind of early transition. I don't even get this outer zone here. So huge deduction for me right there. And then at this point, I'm like, you know what? He's already got the gap. So if I try to close and get on his door, it's just going to look stupid. So I'm like, if I try to close and get on his door, it's just going to look really dumb. So like, I should just focus on hitting this outer zone as smooth as I can. Don't really worry about angle. Just make sure the car's in the right place. Don't make your run look any worse than it already does. So you see he's got way more angle than me here, but I'm still trying to adjust from that last mistake. And at this point now, you've got maybe 2.5 car lengths. And in a competition this stiff, that is basically might as well be a baseball field. I ended up coming off a little bit there too, so not my best chase run at all. I practiced with Liam maybe about an hour before this event started, maybe even a little bit sooner than that, and I had better chases against him. So I think it came with a combination of me making that mistake on the bank and making a mistake right here as well. And this dude just turned on the jets. Like, he was fast and then just got faster. So I don't know if he was holding back. I don't know if he just changed his style up, but he got way quicker from practice and then into his actual comp lead. So I'm sitting on a deficit here, so all I can really do is bring it in the lead, and this was my lead run.
Keenan in the lead, Liam in the chase this time. Keenan really getting up on the door, having to slam on the brakes to not make contact, and avoids it altogether. Again, just in the chase, it's like an intimidation technique almost. Keenan unfazed by it though, coming through, putting his tire right on the outside line perfectly. But I think Liam's proximity is just so crazy in his chase. He needs such a strong lead, and a 360 for the boys from Keenan.
All right, welcome to run number 2 of our top 32 battle against Mr. Akihiko. So you'll see what he does here. Watch what he does in the chase. You know what I tried to do and messed up? He got that right. So just watching him back too is really helping me kind of learn a little bit of things here and there. You never had to worry about chicanes and fours. You just went 50 rolls. It was easy. So this is a part of drifting that is totally new to me on the competition side. So come in here. I was like, you know what? I'm sitting on a mistake. I just want to put down a solid lead run. I doesn't have to be super flashy. The harder I try, the worse it's going to be. So just run 90%. Hopefully he makes a mistake. Maybe he won't. I know I'm slower than him. Maybe he'll just overshoot and hit me by accident. But what happened was he actually timed it perfect. Really impressive by him, because I wasn't initiating like the other guys on the top were. I was just pulling the handbrake, maybe a little bit of flick just to get the weight transition and to make it look a little snappier. He read me like a book. Like he knew that was coming and really kind of just entered low, came up wide, maybe had a little bit of a hiccup there, but it wouldn't have been on him. My car did not have the angle I was looking for, but it was exactly on the track where I wanted it. Nice job on the wall. Again, just really didn't pull angle when I needed to. I actually have more angle than him here. So this is the hardest part of the track for me, mind you. He is right on my ass. Like he is on me. There's nothing I can really do to try and get away from him that won't make my lead run look worse. So in the car, I can hear him in my headphones. So I'm like, you know what? Just pretend he's not there. Do what you can. Really nice angle on here. I actually got the transition basically as good as I've got all weekend. Maybe a little bit slow, maybe a little bit like soft. I would have liked to have flicked it a little bit harder, but again, I just want to make sure I don't make any big mistakes. So I'd rather take a little bit of a lame transition than try to go for a big flashy transition and spin or do something stupid. I actually got a lot more than the outer zone than I thought about halfway through. I could have done a little bit better there, but I think that just came from the late transition and how lazy it was. Liam didn't miss a beat. He's still there with me. And this is super impressive from both of us, what's this last outer zone here. So I went a little bit shallow, but then look at my left rear tire. I'm gonna stroke my ego before I stroke Liam's, but like left rear tire right on the line. Again, this is where the bank starts, so just keeping it inside. That is the best outer zone 4 I've done probably all weekend. Hit a 360 because I was all jazzed about it. I knew there was nothing else I could do. I did everything I needed to do in my lead to see if I could move on, but unfortunately Liam again read the play, kind of just cut his angle a little bit. You see he's running a little bit less angle, but it's like maybe 2 degrees just to make sure I don't go anywhere, which is actually a nice little confidence boost, which means if he ran the same angle as me, he was worried that I was going to pull away. That's nice to the old heart ski here. Right there on the door, he actually closes, he goes a little bit shallow, closes, and then from this point on, it's just the putting red paint on the purple car show. Like just very, very sweet job. Again, he could have been pulling a little bit more angle, but this proximity, considering I had none in my chase, was part of the deciding factor that would give Liam the win and move on. He actually ended up finishing second overall, so I'm not really too bummed that that's how my battle ended. I'm glad I lost to a guy that went rounds. It would have been more heartbreaking if I lost to a guy who lost in the 16. GG's to Liam. Again, go check out his Instagram. And I think overall, this weekend was a success, but definitely could have done a lot better. My qualifying could have went better, but again, I had some mental distractions, so I think I just have to get better at refocusing if something like that happens in the battles. I had that sickness that wasn't helping, but again, that doesn't do anything for how bad that initiation was and how bad the transition was. That's two things that I can definitely learn and definitely work on going forward. I didn't really get a lot of chase practice. I was more like, you know what, to chase, you have to get in the event, so just worry about your leads. That's why my leads were a lot more solid than my chases. So at least I'll know maybe the week of, just to jump into some official sessions and get some chase practice just in case, so I'm not trying to cram it all in 12 hours. But yeah, GG's to Liam. We ended up finishing, we ended up getting knocked out there, obviously. I think we finished technically 28th. Maybe a little bit better than that, maybe a little bit worse, but it's still 30 points on the board. Still, you know, 56 people qualified, and we got in. So even just making it in was huge, but we definitely have a solid ground to build on for round 2. I was really scared that I was just going to get a 60 and not qualify, and we'd have to like spend all season building and building and building. But being able to make it in the 32 first try, have an 80-point score on the board. My highest qualifying score ever in competitive drift was 83. So having that be pretty close was nice, but definitely still some things to work on, definitely some things to learn. Really stoked for round 2 in June 24th, 25th. So in about a month. Thanks everybody for watching. If you made it this far, if you liked it, hit the thumbs up, you know, algorithm, pee poo poo. You can also subscribe to me or follow me on Twitch, where I do a lot of my practice, twitch.tv/MrAeroHD. Not bad, not great, but definitely something we can build on in the future. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's nice to be, I don't say back, but it's nice to be making a YouTube video again, and we'll see you next time. Peace.